And we're live.
I'm stressed out hearing how much money that you lost from losing your Twitch partnership. Like, holy
every time
shit.
I get those emails that come in, and I just got one today because I still get like some weird residual subscribers that are really old. It's like, oh, you got paid $100 today, and it's like, oh, cool. Like 5 months ago, that would have said like, $23,000, and that money is just completely evaporated in thin air. It's a little stressful for sure.
I'm just the fact that you don't seem that stressed is what boggles me. I'm like, he lost $240,000 a year in income or more.
Okay, wait, we don't have to like fucking say it out like that.
You gotta start multiplying numbers with other numbers.
My bad. He lost 20 grand a month
in 4 years. He's probably going to be working into an early grave now. Oh my goodness!
I bet he 20 grand, 23 grand, and 24 grand this far. I say, all right, I'm the crazy one.
Dozens of dollars a year.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, it was kind of like a kick in the pants, but I'm fine. And I'm like,
I mean, it sucks, but like I have a really lucky background for coming into this. My life before streaming was fucking shit. Like I was doing like fucking 13-day stretches, like every other Sunday off, cleaning carpets, like making like $1,500 to $2,000 a month or whatever. So like I'm incredibly blessed to do what I do. I've always been kind of like all right, well, this sucks. What can we do to fix it to move forward? And I'm a very like forward moving kind of person because it's all you can do. I was very stressed the day it happened. I drank a lot, had a big panic attack, sorted all my feelings out. But then, day two, it's time to figure out what we're going to do.
Did you literally have a panic attack? Panic attack?
Yes.
Wow. Can you talk about it? Like what is... Did you fall to the ground? Like that kind of panic attack?
I don't know how big do we want to go into this. It's really, really hard to explain.
Kyle gets those too, so he'll understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I go unconscious. Yeah,
he passed out in the courtroom. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was a different courtroom. Just to be clear, that was when I was 20.
This has happened many
21. Yeah, I went down in a couple of courtrooms.
Sometimes you just drive by. He's like a fainting goat.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no.
Nice.
The incident Taylor's talking about is when it's like, I don't know what it's called, maybe arraignment or something like that. It's like the first part of like federal court when they're like reading out all of the charges. And I hadn't heard some of them before, and I was just like, and I certainly hadn't heard them come out of I'd heard them come out of my lawyer's voice, who was like, oh yeah, and there's this thing. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. That's getting squashed right away. And then there's this thing. We talked to ATF. They're like, if it were me, I'd go to court on that because that one's bullshit. Don't worry about that. And then there's this little thing and this little thing, and the maximum for those are this and that. And I'm just like, all right, so that's very calming. And then you get to court, and the prosecutor is like, and this and that and the other while doing this, and then it just keeps going for like 8 more charges. And I like whisper to my lawyer, I'm about to go unconscious. You've got 60 seconds to get me a chair.
Nice, very nice.
And he's like, can we get a chair?
He just fell over.
Is that how it went down? Did they get you a chair?
They got me a chair. I stayed conscious, but I needed the chair.
Fanning yourself. So yeah, you're among at least one. I've never had a pass out like that. It sounds terrifying and awful. Was it something like that you experienced that day?
It's kind of weird. Up until I was like, I'm not trying to derail too much. Up until I was 30, I've never had any mental issue ever in my life. I've never had anxiety, depression, anything like that. I'm just a rock solid, stable mind. And then when I was 30, I decided, oh wow, people talk about mushrooms. Let's try like a fuck ton of these. And after that, I've had some problems. And one of those was that I experienced a panic attack, which led to me being able to experience more. So when I experience a panic attack, it's really hard to explain. Or maybe it's not. Maybe normal people understand this. I've never felt like terror in my life. Like generally, I feel when something bad happens, I usually feel like a nervous excitement. And it usually like propels me forward. Like I want to do something like, oh, cool, whatever. But I guess when I have a panic attack, it's just it's this feeling of absolute and total certainty that you're about to die. I don't know why or how. That's just like, and it's hard to explain what that feels like, because generally when you associate like near death, like if I'm in my car and like a truck tries to merge into me, like the adrenaline will get pumping and I'll be like, ooh, brakes, whatever. And you're very, very excited. This is not like that kind of excitement at all. It's just a very depressive, horrible feeling that like starts to go through your body that like, fuck, everything is over. And I think my biggest fear at the time was that I know how inefficient Twitch is and how many different institutions exist inside Twitch. And I wasn't sure because the departnering came from the legal team. I didn't know if there was a permaban working its way through the other part of the system. So I was kind of in limbo there because I wasn't sure if a big ban was coming. And that uncertainty is something is really stressful for all humans.
Yeah.
Right? Nobody likes uncertainty.
Of course.
Yeah.
So,
It's your fight or flight system being out of whack, and it just goes to the max, and kind of it can't do either. Like I have some panic attacks where I'm able to like use some breathing techniques and kind of like focus and pull myself like right the ship and pull out of it. But sometimes it's like we're going down, everyone brace for impact. Like I need to find a couch or the floor quickly because like I have passed out, and like normally when you trip and fall, like you break your fall, but when you go unconscious, you just collapse like a house of cards. So like I've fallen on like concrete before one time and just like fucked my elbow up and like
die.
Like,
dude, falling from head height is deadly.
Yeah, I fell
from what height? I didn't hear that.
Head height.
Head
like,
height, 6 feet.
Height,
just
hitting your head on the ground, you're fucked.
It's not uncommon.
The ground might be in trouble for me.
Fighters, they can get hurt because they collapse in a bad way, right? Like you're not supposed to land on your shoulder like that or bend your knee the wrong way. And if you're just out, like knocked out, like a fighter would be, they often like bust an ACL, even though it was a hit to the chin.
You fall like that Tom Segura video where he just becomes a crumpled spider. Oh God, I could see that video in my head. It was such a bad injury.
I think when you get knocked on like a concussion, I think that when you get knocked out, I think your body has a response where you do a particular thing where you stiffen up or something. That's why you see like when people get knocked out, they just like go down and they're just like looking very inhuman, very weird.
It can be weird for refs because the fencing response can be mistaken in some situations for a defensive posture. Like they're still defending themselves, maybe trying to hold you off. But that's not what happens. I'm just out cold with one arm.
You know who I feel bad for in Ultimate Fighting is like the guys who have embarrassing fencing responses. Like some of the guys like fully erect, torqued. You're like, that guy's out. That's a turgid, powerful response. Some of them look like they're like casting a spell. They're pulling down. It's like, dude, that guy's got a bitch fencing response. And everybody's laughing at
poor guy with a limp-wristed fencing response.
Very effeminate fencing response. Loser. He lost and he sucks.
To your point about the anxiety, like I haven't had a panic attack so far, but I've had like stress in my life, and the biggest stresses are when I'm not the solution, right? Like if I'm managing someone and my team has this problem, or if it's just out of my hands, if it's someone else's decision, if I can work and fix it, then that's not the stress level. That's not my big problem. That puts me in work mode. If I'm just waiting to see what someone else deals my way, that's crushing. That's so hard to work with.
Yeah, exactly the same. And I've heard that's pretty common, that like the difference between there's a book about I don't know if it's called The Upside of Stress. I don't remember. But apparently a lot of the traditional thoughts of stress are supposedly incorrect, that being stressed is bad or being stressed for long periods of time is bad, that we always think this because cortisol is negative. Supposedly, the argument that this book made, I've had a friend summarize this book to me, and then I read a few paragraphs. I don't know the whole book, but supposedly the argument that this book goes on to make is that stress is only bad when you feel stressed and you don't have the tools to deal with it. And when I think back to a lot of my life, I have, because a lot of people always ask me, like, oh, how do you deal with stress, blah, 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 blah. And like, I just, by the nature of how I've come up, like I've always kind of been on my own and figuring things out. Like if I've got like some stressful events, they usually are all like problems that can be solved. And it's like, that's like an exciting thing for me. Like, holy shit, like I just got banned on Twitch. Like, where else can I make money from? Like, do I need to start doing shirts? Do I need to go back to building computers? Like, can I push my YouTube harder? Like, well, what other platforms can I stream on? Like, it's usually like, okay, well, what can we do to solve the problem and move forward? And that can be like exciting. As long as you feel like you have the tools to deal with whatever adversarial thing is presented to you, I don't think the stress is usually as bad. Sometimes it can spur you on to like some kind of greater action. Yeah.
Titus,
if you never got stressed, you wouldn't get anything done.
Titus, the comedian, I think we've had him on the show. He has this routine. I can't deliver it like he does, but he's like, people are worried about anxiety. That's how the mortgage gets paid. And somehow that burned into my head. Like, yeah, sometimes actually that's how the mortgage is paid. I've got a little anxiety. I got to get shit done. It's motivating.
Sometimes. To be clear, the long-term anxiety that could come about of just being perpetually fucked in life, though, is not a good. So like the anxiety that I have now as a streamer is always exciting because I've got a plethora of options available to me. 12 years ago, when I was falling behind on my house payments, when my ex-girlfriend was pregnant, and when my job fucking sucked, that anxiety was not good. I didn't feel spurred on to action. I just felt like my life was completely fucking over, and there was nothing good about that. So there are differences. It totally depends on like where you're at in life in terms of like what can feel exciting. I understand that for sure.